Thank you for tuning in to the Imperfectly Inspirational Podcast. So excited to have everyone listening today. This is our first actual topic that we've covered. Last week was our introduction, a little bit to who we are. And, I should have mentioned that I plan to post weekly, potentially even 2 times a week once we get things rocking and rolling. Right now, just kind of expect once a week from us at this current moment. But so this week's topic that we want to discuss is going to be complacency. Now, complacency comes in many different forms and shapes and sizes, but let's look at what society says, right? This is the theme of the episode, actually the podcast, where we want to talk about what society says and what the Bible says, or give some examples out of the Bible. So there's two types that I want to categorize complacency in, and one is retirement or goal setting type of complacency. In our current society that we're in, we have a goal and an ambition to retire. Am I correct? You plan to work your life, you plan to get to a retirement age, and then you say, you know what, we're done. We can finally relax. We can finally just stop it right there. Well, maybe there's goals. Maybe there's a dream. Maybe you want to buy your first house. Maybe you want to hit the $100,000 mark per year. Whatever it is, there's a goal to reach. And once we reach that goal, many people find I'll say, coasting point from there. The second part that we're going to talk about in complacency is going to be the I'm too busy, so I can't move forward. You're complacent in your busyness. So let's jump into the first part. But what is complacency really to begin with? Complacency is being happy in a moment, being satisfied with everything around you. And this is where the first part really comes in, and where society has put it into our hearts that we need to reach this top point in our life to continue to move forward. Well, I don't know about you, but it is kind of false. It is a kind of a false thing there that we're seeing that society has put to us, because once you stop, once you reach your goal and you have no more ambition, you start to fade away. You start to lose those things around you. And I want to give you an example of this, especially this type of complacency. We are going to read from the Bible. I do read from the ESV, English Standard Version. It's going to be Proverbs 24, and we are going to read verses 30 through 34. We got King Solomon, wonderful king, very wise king here. He's talking about what happens when he passed by a vineyard. Proverbs 24, verse 30 says, I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense. And behold, it was all overgrown with thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stone wall was broken down. Then I saw it and considered it. I looked and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. If you have ever seen active vineyards, you will know that these things are beautiful, massive amounts of land, kept up, looking beautiful to the eyes. But in order to do that, it takes a lot of work. Now, all of the weeds and all of the thorns and all these things, they do not grow up overnight. So it does take time for this stuff to come up and become overgrown. Our life is like this vineyard. And King Solomon he's saying he walked by this man who was sitting down, relaxing on the front, basically the front porch, while this vineyard was ultimately falling apart. Now, is this an episode saying you should not rest? Absolutely not. We know God rested on the sixth day. We should absolutely take a moment to rest. We need that recharging time in our lives. It is very important, but there's a difference in a little bit of rest to get recharging and to move, and that little folding of the hands and consistently sitting idle. See, This is what happens with complacency. We get to a point to where we say, okay, I'm stopping. I'm not taking a break. I'm stopping. This is the goal. This is the point. And we can look at this man that King Solomon is talking about. I could only imagine, this is speculation, but I could only imagine that what had happened was this vineyard at one point was beautiful. This vineyard had everything going for it. All the hard work had paid off. It was growing. It was spectacular. Everything was put together. The goal had been completed. And what had happened is this guy said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. And unfortunately, when we are done, when we decide to coast, things fall apart. I can tell you from experience, I had a financial goal that I wanted to hit in my life. And once I got to that point, I kind of started coasting. I started just taking it easy. I started not putting as much effort into things, saying I'm where I need to be. I'm good. I don't really care about too much more from this point. And from that moment, when I started, kind of caring less and not taking that effort to continuously move forward in life, I started seeing a lot of things falling apart, just like those weeds and those vines growing up in that vineyard. Um, I realized, and it was a turning point for me when these things started to crash down and things started to fall apart. I have to consistently be moving, even if I reach a mark that is a goal. There has to be something else that I have to look forward to, not just keeping up with the place, but trying to continuously grow. Because if not, if I just sit back and coast and say I made it, my life is going to fall apart. And if you've ever had experience with this, maybe you have not, and this is where my forewarning to you is: don't stop. Find something else to look forward to. Find another goal. Always continue to move that needle forward in your life. If not, that needle will fall backwards. It will never just stay right where it is. You're going to go either forward or backwards. And I tell you what, friend, it is always better to move forward. So the second part of complacency that I want to talk about, that is a kind of a hidden complacency, and more people are falling into this than they are any other form. And that is the I am so busy that I don't have time for anything else. You've hit a point in your life where all you do is get up, get the kids ready, get them out the door, you go to work, you come home, you cook dinner, you get your kids ready for bed, you're constantly running to sports, you're doing all these things, and you feel like you can do nothing else but these things. But little do you know, at the end of the day, you're not really moving that needle forward. Slowly but surely, that needle is falling backwards, and things in your life like laundry, dishes, bills, things that have gotten the lack of attention over the years start to pile up. And you've hit a point of complacency. What I want to call, it's going to be a term that I'll say, it's an overloaded complacency. You're so overloaded that you're stuck in one spot, but you feel like you don't need to move forward, not realizing the harm that's happening in your life right now. You say, well, Chris, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the time for that. Well, you do. You really do. Um, Picture going out in your backyard, and you constantly walk in a circle every day around a tree. Every day you walk in the same patch of grass. You lay out something and you just walk in that little circle every day. After a while, that grass in that area is going to become dead. After a while, it's going to be a little rut around in that circle, around that tree. That is currently the life that you're living right now with your, what I want to say, hidden complacency. There always has to be something moving this needle forward. Don't get stuck and there's no time. Don't get stuck and I don't have an opportunity, because I've been right there where you are right now. And when I took a deep breath and I looked back and I said, you know what? Maybe instead of pulling out my phone for 30 minutes. I can go switch to laundry and go ahead and put it away. Or maybe I could go ahead and do the yard today. So this way tomorrow I can get the kitchen cleaned. Or so, whatever it may be, find something to move around or add in or cut out that is not benefiting you. And basically, let's look at this. If it is not benefiting you at moving that needle forward in your life, cut it out. Whether it be you're sitting there watching the TV for 2.5 hours during the day, you're playing on your phone for another hour, you're talking on the phone for 45 minutes. These things add up to a lot of waste of time that are putting each and every one of us in that spot. And honestly, society wants us to be in that spot. Society doesn't really care if we move forward. They don't really care if we do better or make our lives easier to manage. Because why? They keep making funny cat videos. They keep making silly things for us to watch and to consume. It is up to you today to get out of that mindset of complacency of, okay, I've hit a goal, so now I'm done. No, no, no. Or maybe I'm too busy to do anything new in my life. Let's take this example of what King Solomon saw in Proverbs 24. This guy that was taking it easy, he thought that he had it all together. But the moment he stopped paying attention to it, the moment he stopped focusing on it, is when it started to fall apart. So whether you're so busy that you say you can't do it, or whether you've reached that goal, start focusing on another goal or start actually focusing on the goal at hand. And you would be surprised what you can really accomplish because you have it within you to do it. It's just a want. And does that want supersede the want to play on your phone or the want to sit down and watch Netflix all day? Just matters what you want. Life is hard. Which heart are you going to choose? Hopefully, this episode could really, you know, tug at some heartstrings, could help somebody who needed it. And if you did like it, share it. Follow us for future episodes so you can be alerted when the new episodes do come out. Like I said, we do plan on new ones every week or maybe a couple a week as we get better and try to get this thing down. But thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you and have a wonderful day.